Are you sure you don't want one?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
You don't want to freak out at 6
I
p.m.?
don't even drink caffeine, man.
You don't drink caffeine? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I actually dealt with a lot of health issues at the beginning of the year, man, that I had to like eliminate a lot of stuff.
Chris, let's just get into it.
Let's get into it, man.
Chris Holifield.
Holifield. Whoa, as I spill that here.
What's up, Chris?
What is up, buddy?
For anyone that doesn't know you, and then we'll just get right into the conversation, who are you? Because I think you're a pretty cool dude.
Who is Chris Holifield? Where do you start with that one, man? I'm a dad. I'm a podcaster. I'm a real estate agent. I like to consider myself, a Utahn at this point. I was born and raised in California, but moved here many, many years ago. So been in Utah over 30 years. That's the basic gist of it. I don't know how deep you want to get there.
I'll tell you why I wanted to chat with you and the basis of this podcast.
Sure.
We were just talking about Andy Frisilla.
Yeah.
And I have a picture of him framed right behind me. The thing about Andy is he's accomplished incredible things. This is his company, First Forum, his energy drink. They just closed a deal with Dana White and the Budweiser company, and this will be distributed across the entire country. Like, that's a big deal. His company, I'm wearing it right here. So Andy is like a juggernaut who I look up to, and I think there's a lot of people like him. I'm sure you have a handful of people that are in your I want to be a badass like that person list. And what I find interesting and also have found in my journey of trying to chase like personal greatness is when you start working on yourself, because everyone eventually comes to a breaking point that they need to work on themselves. You find this crazy inspiration within yourself, and then what happens is other people all of a sudden will message you and be like, Chris, you really inspire me. And for whatever reason, it could be real estate, you losing weight, clean haircut, whatever it is. And those people I really respect and admire because they live at a different level. In my opinion, I call them everyday heroes because they're people that genuinely get after it day after day after day, whether, they want to or not. And not that every day is perfect, but there's a reason they just stand out. And I love these people because they're not doing it for praise. They're doing it, like I said, because they were backed up to a corner and they needed to change something, or they just wanted to change something. So that's why I wanted to interview you, Chris, because, sorry, Billy's just going to be your best friend.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I need a podcast dog.
The last time you and I chatted, and this is what's really cool about you, you had interviewed me for your podcast, I Am Salt Lake. I Am Salt Lake podcast right now.
Correct.
I Am Salt Lake City.
I Am Salt Lake podcast, yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing, that someone would highlight me, a random kid that was running a record label, but you respected my insight and gave me a platform. And to me, that I've used that on my resume a handful of times.
Nice.
And so, fast forward, besides the thank you, I wanted to actually shout you out because back then you were doing it, and that was like 2016, 17.
Sounds about right, yeah.
And you were doing it way before then, right? So you've been consistently producing the I Am Salt Lake podcast for, I'm going to say, well over 10 years.
13 years, the end of August. Can you believe that? Started back in 2012.
Okay.
August of 2012, with just this idea of interviewing people in the Salt Lake City area. And when I say even Salt Lake City, let's go outside of Ogden, Park City, Utah County, find out their story, what makes them tick. Because I ultimately believe, now granted, we've grown a lot here in Utah.
Yeah.
Utah County, Salt Lake County, Davis County, it's all growing. But for the most part, everybody knows everybody. It's still Small Lake City,
yes,
in my opinion, right? And we all feed off of each other's energy. We all feed off of each other's stories, and we all inspire. You talk about inspiration, right? You don't know how many people you're inspiring on a day-to-day basis with what you do. So I wanted to capture those stories, right? Actually, the idea for the podcast came to me at a downtown Salt Lake City farmers market. I might have shared this with you, actually. No. I wanted to do a podcast. I was like, man, what can I do a podcast about, right? Like, do I interview famous comedians? Do I interview famous musicians? Well, I didn't really have the in with all of those people. But at the time, the girl I was with at the time made a lot of women's clothing, sold them at the downtown farmers market. Week after week after week, I would help her set up early in the morning. Don't know if you've ever done the downtown Salt Lake farmers market. You got to be there like at 6 in the morning.
It's crazy.
It's cold. And I was always like, man, this sucks. Like, I want something for me, right? Like, I always felt like she had her thing, but I wanted something. So I had some friends be like, you should look into doing a podcast. Well, what's a podcast? This was back in like 2010, 2011. I started researching what's a podcast. Not very many people knew what they were back then. But when I found out what they were, I started listening to more and more. And I was like, man, why don't I interview people in Salt Lake City, the movers, the shakers, the everyday people that are doing something cool? Because a lot of times we don't know their story. You see them at the downtown farmers market. You see them set up and you wonder, okay, they have this day job. What inspires them to do their, I say they're 5 to 9, right? They have their 9 to 5 and they come home and do their 5 to 9. And it just kind of exploded. And I started off with 2 episodes a week when I started I Am Salt Lake. And then it kind of tapered it back down to 1.
13 years, dude.
13 years.
That is, that's what I'm talking about. That's straight up commitment to your cause, your purpose, your mission without wavering. And what you've done for the community is so cool. Like, you are a staple in Salt Lake because of that. You know what I'm saying?
I'd like to think I am.
Tell me another. There isn't one, right? And people know about you and your show, and that's freaking... I think it's the coolest thing because, again, you just said it. I did it because I just see all these people and I was curious. It wasn't for a selfish reason. Part of the selfish, I wanted my own thing. Everyone should have their own thing. There's nothing selfish about that.
Yeah.
And your own thing was to give value to other people and help get their story out. So I think that's cool, dude.
Well, it was never about me, right?
Yeah.
The podcast has never been about me. And people always would tell me, like, oh, you need to include more of yourself in it. You need to put more photos. And I probably should. Even video. I haven't really gotten into video. I probably should. But again, it's never been about me. It's always about the other people. But people want to know, well, what's the voice behind I Am Salt Lake, though?
Is there a reason why you haven't quit?
I ask myself that every day. And actually, to back up just a little bit, I did change the name for a couple of years.
What? Okay.
So I went through a divorce a few years ago. Chrissy and I, we parted ways, and she was such a big part of the podcast. And with her being such a big part of it, now granted, when I started it, it was just me. Met her along the way. She came in, probably podcast with me 4 or 5 years with I Am Salt Lake. So she was a big part of it, created all the design, the websites, the whole 9 yards. And so when I went through the divorce and there was a part of me that was like, do I change the name? Should I change the name? I just didn't, my mind just wasn't 100% straight at the time. And so I changed it to Let's Talk Local, which honestly it never stuck with me. It was like what I wanted
That's funny.
a podcast name with local in it, right? Because obviously it would keep it the same. So I kept the same podcast feed, the whole 9 yards. That way people that subscribe to I Am Salt Lake would still get Let's Talk Local. And I did it for like a couple of years, and it just never excited me anymore. And then when I went back to I Am Salt Lake, I was like ready to ramp up and like, let's go. And honestly, it's the connections. People, like, I love meeting new people. When you get older, it's like it becomes kind of like your social life, right? You're like, oh, I get this opportunity to sit down with, Omar and chat with him for a little bit. And I don't go to bars. I don't go to clubs. So it's like, what does a guy my age do for fun? Right? Especially a single guy.
Yeah, facts.
So, but I enjoy it too much to quit it. I've changed a lot of my ideas with it. I've changed a lot of the direction I go with it. I've changed just the everyday stress of running a podcast. Like I used to really run it like a business. And I'm not saying I don't now, but I don't to the extent that I used to run it, because it was always about, well, how can I make money with it? How can I profit from this? How can I get more listeners? How can I do this and that instead of just having fun? Now, granted, we all want listeners for a podcast, right? Like, what good is doing a podcast if you only have 10 listeners? But hey, even if you only have 10, like, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
If you had 10 people sitting in front of you,
Yeah,
you'd be like stoked.
exactly.
But so I went a different direction with that. I'm not really focused on sponsorships anymore. I'm just focused on making the connections and the friendships and reconnecting with old people. Like, that's why I got to bring you back through it,
Oh, heck yeah.
So
That's really cool, Chris.
Yeah.
That's a good reason not to quit. Give me 1 second.
yeah.
Because I realized I forgot to turn this on.
Oh.
And
Oh man, we didn't have the light facing me properly, right?
And I didn't want to go the rest of the episode and not have you lit like an angel. Just kidding.
The angel that I am.
Dude, let's talk about being single, and because I'm single too.
Yeah.
I've gone through a divorce years ago, and now I'm 39 and trying to date, especially because I still like
Date. What is that?
Yeah, it's like I'm not on any of the dating apps. The last few gals that I've like connected with, awesome, but I want to I want to push myself to actually talk to a human and make a connection, which has been like the hardest thing, because I'm like, all I do is work.
Yeah.
And then I like go run with my dog, and going to the club scene or anything like that. No offense to anyone, but it feels, if you're going out to get a gal or a guy, whatever, it seems like a loser's way of doing it.
To go to a club?
To like approach it like that. Not to go to a club, but like I feel like a loser if I'm a 40-year-old dude just going to a club to like pick up on a chick.
Well, sure.
Like that.
Because most of them there are probably 20.
And then I'm like, I feel like I just, the last few times I've gone, I'm like, just like, what are you guys doing with your life? Like, go home and get a job. That's what I usually end up telling myself. So what does a single guy do in Salt Lake?
Well, what is it? Honestly, I'm not dating at all. Has a thought crossed my mind? Sure. But I've been really working on myself. It's been about 4 years, I think, since my divorce.
Okay.
Maybe not quite, maybe 3 years. I don't know exactly how long. But it was tough for me. I mean, I still deal with stuff, and talk about, like, I see like your book on your shelf there, like the book of mental toughness, and I've been reading a lot of like mindset books, really, and even with getting into real estate, that's really kind of led me down that direction too. So with real estate and my divorce, it's been all about, how is my mindset, how is my brain, how is just the way I'm thinking. And that's really what I'm focusing on, is myself, my real estate business, and my daughter. I've got a daughter that's almost 8 years old in September, so I haven't really done the dating thing.
You know what?
And
I do want to talk. I don't want to skip this, because I'm glad you're talking about it. I'd rather talk about that mental change.
Yeah.
Because when I went through my divorce, I remember the day it happened, and I remember like, holy cow, I can't believe that this is real and it's happening right now. And I remember the choice I had was it was so clear. It was either A, I could let it affect me,
Sure.
Make myself the victim and go down that road, or I could make all the right choices that I knew would lead me to a better path.
Sure.
Not putting a blame on either side, just like take ownership and progress forward. So I chose that, but it's not an easy thing. Tell me about the mindset of like overcoming that dark moment.
Divorce is never easy, right? I mean, you've mentioned you've been divorced, right? Divorce isn't easy whether you know it's the right thing or the wrong thing. Especially even if you know it's the right thing. There's still a part of you that's like, okay, it was the best that we got divorced. However, I like that comfortability. I like that person in my life, that constant person there, right? And so when I got divorced, when this divorce with Chrissy, it was tough because I knew I needed to work on myself. I knew I was lacking a lot of myself. And I wasn't going to obviously take all the blame. It takes two to tango. But however, I was going to take the blame for myself and what I contributed to the problem, to the relationship, to the situation. So even things like gratitude, you don't realize how important something like focusing on just little things that you're grateful for until you get it all taken away. And that moment you get it all taken away is when you're like, I wasn't grateful enough for that. I didn't know what I was doing. I could have handled this situation, that situation better. So just even little things. Sorry, what was your initial question? Was
keep going. No, just keep
with like mindset and well, because I knew so I suffer a lot with like depression, anxiety, and I noticed that a lot of it is my mind and focusing on different things. And I know this sounds silly, but really, and you might be able to even agree with me on this one, Omar. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place with my answer, but once you get involved with focusing on your mindset and bigger thinking and positive thinking and gratitude, and it becomes such a part of you that you just think, well, this is easy. I mean, it's hard and easy at the same time. And so you wonder, there was a time when I didn't realize this was important. Just even simple things like gratefulness and focusing on the good. I would always go towards the bad of things. And you don't realize that, like, that's just the way your brain's conditioned, is to go towards the negative, to go towards the bad.
It does. Your brain does that because it's trying to protect you from certain things.
Sure.
Like you see a fire, it's bad. You want to stay away from it because you don't want to get burned. Little things like that. Taking ownership, I think, is super important. And I think it's cool that you said, hey, I've been divorced for 4 years, but I've taken this time to work on myself.
Yeah.
I actually did the same thing. I did 6 years without dating. And it was because, just like you, I had this wake-up call where I'm like, how the hell did I get, how did I get to this situation?
Yeah.
It didn't just happen overnight. Like, what were the choices that led me here? And you're in real estate. Do you know who Darren Hardy is?
Yeah, very familiar.
The book, Compound Effect?
Yeah, very great book.
Dude, that was the first book I read when I got divorced.
I need to reread that, actually.
And that was a life-changing book because he talks about how you, at 180 days, I think is what he said, of like doing something consistent, or 18 months is what he was talking about. If you do something for 18 months, you don't see the compound effect until then. And so I was really replaying, and he talks about, like, if you're getting fat, what have you been doing the last 18 months? Probably eating like shit, not working out. If you got divorced, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's where I'm at. Well, what happened the last 18 months? And that whole thing about like taking ownership and tracking like the scorecard, like really changed my life. And for anyone who like is going through something like that or just wants a good book of like accountability, dude, that book is like insane because the daily actions compound to the next thing, and they don't compound overnight. Yeah. You literally wake up one day and you're like, holy shit, am I where I want to be or not? Like a perfect example is when I was getting interviewed by you, I always wanted to build that company and make this big record label. It didn't pan out the way that I wanted to, but where are we sitting right now?
Well, there you go.
Right? There was a compound choice. And I think that people can make the wrong choices and never progress because they'll wallow, woe is me, and never do something about it.
Yeah. Well, and that was my problem. I played victim way too much. I'll be the first to admit that. And you don't realize it because when you think, oh, I'll play victim, you think it's a lot more cut and dry, a lot more black and white. But it's not. You don't realize just even the way you phrase certain things and the way you act. I mean, that's victim mentality. And a lot of people don't realize what that is until they have it pointed out. And unfortunately, I needed someone to point that out to me. And I said, whoa, I took a step back and I said, that's not the person I want to be. And you talk about a compound effect. I mean, even something as simple as a daily gratitude list, for example, right? People don't realize the power of, every morning when you get up, if you spend 5 minutes writing your gratitude list, you think, okay, 5 minutes, that's no big deal. Oh, I don't feel any different today. I'll tell you what, you start doing that in 3 or 4 or 5 months down the road, you're going to have a completely different mindset and a completely different outlook on the world.
And you can go back and look at it. I actually have it. I have 2 journals that I keep. One of them is a power list journal.
Okay.
And I got the power list from Andy. The power list are 5 things that you do daily to move your life forward. So, like right now, I'm trying to wake up and move wake up at 5:30 and be moving by 6 a.m. So it's like 5 things, the power list. Move, drink my water, do 75 hard, not drink alcohol, and prospect for an hour. It used to be that I would have...
Don't drink alcohol first thing in the morning?
First thing in the morning. I wait till lunch. I wait till lunch. I'm trying to make better choices that do compound into clearer mind, better health, better relationships, more business. And then the other thing that I do, so that's like, because you need to have purpose in life. And then the other half of not the compound, but the power list, and also I have a separate one, but it's a gratitude journal where I just write like 1 to 5 things that I'm thankful for that happened that day.
Oh, I love it.
Because, like you said, it may not seem like a big deal, but it's a big deal. Like, just on Sunday, I usually I'll write it down, but then before I go to bed, I like to rethink my day. I'll put my hand on my chest and I'll do 5 and 5. 5 things that happened today that I'm thankful for, and 5 things that I did today that move my business and life forward. And I usually end up falling asleep because I can't really think of things that I'm really doing that I'm like, oh, I really crushed today. But the gratitude, I get stuck on that because I think of hey, I went running with my dog today. He's healthy. I'm in an air-conditioned room in my own place. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I have a thriving business that, little things like that. And if you don't, like you said, if you don't take the moment to appreciate it, you fill the void with things to complain about.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I was a complainer. That's the thing, Omar. I was a complainer. It's crazy. If I look back over even before my divorce, I was kind of shifting towards more people, teachers, podcasts. I was discovering podcasts like Andy Frisilla, podcasts like that.
What made you a complainer, though?
Life? I don't know. Honestly, you want to be honest with you? I think a lot of it's my mom.
Okay.
If we want to get really deep here.
Let's do it.
I think we inherit a lot from our parents. I think we carry a lot of personalities and demeanors and ideas and thoughts from our parents. We're around them a lot when we're growing up, and we're the most pliable and most inspired at a young age. And for some reason, I try to figure this out. I have an older brother I try to talk to a lot about it. And I'm like, man, what causes me to be this way and not you? For some reason, I just internalize things a lot more. And so, especially after my divorce, I started being around my mom a lot. She helps me out with my daughter. I have my daughter 50% of the time. And so I started seeing myself kind of getting sucked back into just the way she talks, the way her demeanor, the way she just carries herself, the way she talks about the world, the way she talks about herself. And I try to point it out to her. And it's hard. I think people, especially when they get older, right, they have they're set in their ways. And so they don't think that what they're doing is wrong. And the thing is I'm not trying to, gosh, I sound like I'm even sitting here like pointing the finger at somebody else maybe. No. And maybe I am. I don't know. I'm learning. But I do see a lot of me in her. And that scares me because I do not want to be that person.
Let me, I'll add to that and then I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Because what you said honestly resonates with me. I know a lot of my and I was just talking about this with one of my team members, Christian, where I am quick to anger.
Yeah.
I'm quick to get offended. I know, and I am aware of it, and I try to. Sometimes it just happens without me noticing, and then I'll say something that comes across too sharp, arrogant, whatever it is. And then in my mind, like 10 seconds later, a minute later, whatever, I'll be like, why was it, what happened? And sometimes I agree with you where I do point where did this come from? And it comes from, honestly, from my mom as well. Because when you're young, especially when we grew up, in an era where, we got beat if we were out of line.
Get a wooden spoon, man.
Yeah, so and not only that, but we also grew up in a time where the stress of work really would come home. And if someone, especially where you grew up in California, but whether California or here.
I mean, I moved to Utah County when I was 15, though.
When you're growing up, when you're growing up in a place where there's so much comparison and your parents feel that from a financial level and then they bring that stress home, they don't know what kind of effect that has on you. And if someone, like you said, my mom maybe wasn't aware, if someone isn't aware that they tend to be a negative person and compare like, oh, I wish they're further ahead, and it does like pass on to people, and like you said, you're reminded, and I don't want to be like that. It's cool that you made the choice, and also like you're not pointing the finger. It's like you just took accountability, and you're trying to figure out like, why am I this way? I think people do need to figure out, why are you a certain way, and if you don't like something about yourself, change it. That's literally my opinion, because I was just exactly what you said. I was like, I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe my friends are getting ahead. I can't believe this. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, and I remember I had some people like, well, go do something about it.
And you're like, wait a minute, I can do something about this? People don't realize that they can, they're responsible for themselves. And a lot of it too, having a daughter, having a kid, that really woke me up a lot too, because I see her mannerisms and the stuff she picks up on because she idolizes me. And it's like, I don't want to pass on to her what got passed on to me.
That was going to be my follow-up question, so I'm glad you actually touched on that. Something that I've been a lot more vocal about is the need to set a good example as a man, or a gal, whatever, but just to be a good example to the youth. In your case, your kids. I don't have kids. Love to have kids. Love to have a family. But I have nieces and nephews, and my friends have kids, and so I know how moldable I was as a kid, and in the music industry, I know how moldable even a young mind is until, your 20s. Setting a high standard is so important, especially in a world like today where victim mentality and victim culture is so big. And the youth because now the youth that are coming up, they're our kids, right? So if we're becoming like complainers, our kids are going to become complainers. And instead of looking at, like your daughter, I love that she said that she looks at you, as the North Star. Perfect. That you should be the North Star, and you should set a good example, because if you're not, you're either setting the bad example and setting her up for failure, or she's probably going to look at someone else as a father figure.
Sure.
And that would suck.
Well, she was going to remember too, like what her dad was like.
Yeah.
And when she starts dating, let's say she starts dating other guys, then she's going to try to find a guy that probably is like me. So why would I want to be a dick and a jerk and mean and an asshole? Like, I'm going to be the best dude I can be, because I want her to remember that and strive to find that.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so stoked that you're doing that. And it's the little choices.
Yeah.
It's and I'll point it out, like your health, you look great. And that's freaking awesome. I know I can trust a person much more if they can control their food and, fitness habit, because it's so hard to just control what you put into your body, and also like the output that you put to try to be physically fit, because it affects your mind. And so if you're like that disciplined, like I can respect, that person more.
Yeah. Well, I'm big into what goes into your mouth, man. You know what I mean?
That's why we're drinking this First Form energy drink. Not sponsored by them, but maybe one day.
Maybe one day, right?
Dude, that's cool. I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad that you're doing something about it, because I know people personally that are in your shoes or are about to be in your shoes, and they're going to be left with a very hard choice, which is do something about it and change, or make bad choices and dig yourself into a mental hole that you don't want to be in. And then you're climbing out of you said you suffer with depression, right? So I am my worst enemy. And what I do is when I beat myself up, I really beat myself up. And then when you're in that negative space and you look up, sometimes it's easier to just keep talking shit about yourself than to like get out of it, because you're like, I got to climb way out of here to make that happen. So anyways, that was a huge rant.
But even depression, you want to get into, figure out, yeah, true, sometimes medication helps. But a lot of times something as simple as going to the gym could help you out. Your mindset could help you out. Your diet can help you out. I up my meat intake. Oh, hello, depression's gone here. What's going on? Anxiety's lowered.
What if I'm vegan?
What if you're vegan? I used to be vegan. I was vegan for like...
And then you're saying that you were cured when you started eating red meat.
Well, yeah, but I stopped being vegan when I was like 24. So over 20 years ago, it wasn't really where.
So that's when you hit puberty.
Yeah, when I hit puberty, right?
I'm just teasing.
I couldn't picture you to be a vegan, Omar.
What's funny is I did try for like 30 days to be vegetarian. Okay. I wanted to be like, to give it a real shot and see what it takes to buy vegetarian food and eat like a proper vegetarian diet. I lasted 7 days. It was so difficult
to just be vegetarian.
Yes, and I was like, I couldn't commit to it.
I was vegan for like 7. Actually, I got a tattoo on the back of my leg that says vegan, man. Dang. That's how much I committed to.
You should put RIP next to it.
Yeah. It was a part of my life, though. That's the thing, too, is a lot of times, here's another thing, right? You want to talk about, okay, that's a perfect thing to even talk about there, because you get a lot of people, they'll say, oh, you changed. You changed. It's like, well, this, Omar. you hear this. I mean, Andy Frisella says the same thing. I mean, we just know him in common. So I hope I changed.
Yes.
Right?
Change is
But I know
good.
so many people that hold, like, even political people. It's like, hey, I think politics is I hate politics, right? Like, I think it causes too much division and
Yes.
contention. But you always have the people, the one side, they'll find reasons to hate the other side, and vice versa. It's like, oh, so-and-so changed. Look at what they did back in the 80s or 90s. It's like, well, yeah, I was a different person back then too. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I used to go to animal rights protests and animal rights marches, and then I was carnivore for 5 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, of course you're going to change.
And, speaking on that, I think it's important to, when I go back, like, in time and just think of, like, politician stuff, people disagreed, but they could still get along. Like,
Well, sure, man. That's how it used to be.
now
But now it's like everybody wants to, like,
tribal.
yeah, it's like, oh, you're you voted for this person, or you belong to this party. I'm going to beat you up.
I had someone that I like literally, it blew my mind because they went into my DMs and they were like, I can't believe you're listening to the wrong people. You're this, you're that. And I was just so taken back from this person that I respected. And I was like, excuse me? Like,
You're listening to the wrong people? That's what they said?
So they messaged me because, again, I'm outspoken, but who cares? Like, everyone should be able to.
Makes you more interesting, though.
You should, like, be able to have your opinion, It is what it is. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you do, cool. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So this person that I respected so much, I say respected because you lose respect when people come at you with they like labeling people over silly things, and I'm like, what happened to like being a friend and like valuing friendship and knowing people like how they really are? And so what? Like, if they don't agree with you on one or two little things, if deep down you know them and you know that they're good people, let them believe whatever the freak they want, flat Earth, whatever,
Sure.
Um,
But also, what you listen to doesn't make you that person.
Yeah.
I'll listen to a lot of podcasts that I don't agree with, but I like to listen to it with an open mind because it's like, well, maybe I'll learn something new
yeah.
and take it in.
I do sometimes like to listen to, for example, political things that I completely disagree with to test my, I like to test my thermometer of like how brainwashed I am.
Brainwashed with your side. I think we're all brainwashed to a degree,
you know what
right?
I mean?
With what we.
Because if I find myself like getting offended, really like, oh, I'm like, whoa, what? Dude, you need to then like tone it back. This is just me. I like learn, right? Learn and see what other people are thinking and going through. And so you're probably the best at that because you talk with everybody.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to that podcast because I have some questions about it.
Sure. I know I didn't talk much about I Am Salt Lake yet. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm here to just talk with you because, dude, and I'm glad you told me about it. I respect you so much more knowing that, hey, I'm not doing this because I'm working on myself. That's, I respect that much. That part of the conversation, I can't wait to cut that because there's going to be so much value in that. And that's why I'm, chatting with you. The I Am Salt Lake City podcast is just like a bonus because, you've done something amazing. But on that, I have three main questions on it. Number one, what are some things that you learned doing the podcast that you didn't expect to learn?
That's a big question. What are some things I learned? I mean, just even how to sit and have a conversation with somebody. I had no idea. I've never did a podcast before I started doing a podcast. Sitting down and finding out somebody's story, and it's like, well, how much do I know, or how much do I find out about somebody before I sit down with them? And just how to do a good interview and how to pull certain things out of somebody. I mean, there's a lot to be learned there. And actually, I took a lot of that too. So when I first started doing I Am Salt Lake, I was in a dating, I went out to have to date, right? And I learned a lot, or took a lot of those skills from doing the podcast. into dating, man. And you can learn a lot from that. Because a lot of times a date is just like a podcast interview, man.
Listening
And just being interested in somebody. And that's ultimately, to me, what my podcast is all about. I mean, every podcast is different. But I Am Salt Lake, we just sit down and, I mean, you've been on it.
Yeah.
You just find out about the other people. That's typically what I do. Now, granted, when somebody's been on a couple of times, then I don't want to backstep and go over the same things. But listening's, and listening is an important skill that a lot of people don't have. Communication.
That, and I talked about this, about the communication part with our first guest, Matt Butler.
Great interview, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, he's amazing. Remember when you talked about how people's skills is so important, and whether you, like, we were talking about being a creative, and you could have the eye and you could be like the best, but if you suck with people, you're gonna have a hard time leveling up in life, because you're gonna be a person that someone doesn't want to be around. And I think that does come down to, part of it is being able to listen to people. Because if someone's talking and you're like, you're missing.
Well, it led me into, even with real estate, a lot of those skills had to be carried into real estate.
What were you doing before real estate?
So actually, I Am Salt Lake led me into real estate.
Okay.
I had some sponsors on I Am Salt Lake that were real estate agents. And, they were just talking about all their, how awesome it's been for them to be sponsors. And, I was like, well, that's a perfect career for me to do. It's like, I'll talk about Salt Lake and I'll sell you a piece of Salt Lake, right?
I love it.
But I love Utah. I mean, I do a lot of business in Utah County and Salt Lake County. And so before that, I was actually a stay-at-home dad. So I did that for about 4 years prior. And then before that, I did sales at a place called Contempo Tile. I sold granite slabs. So I sold big countertops. I didn't do the installation, just the sales. Did that for about 12 years. And I wanted out of that so bad. I hated it.
What did you hate about it?
What did I hate about it? Honestly, I didn't feel valued there as an employee. I wasn't paid well. But here's the thing. I was paid just enough to stay there. I mean, we've all had those jobs, right, where you're like, oh, well, I can't go get a job that pays this good, but yet I don't get paid enough. You can get paid more. But I hated, there was a lot of things I hated. It was very, the elements, the weather. So I started there in 2006. And then the housing crisis in 2008.
Yeah.
2007, 2008, and people started getting laid off. And I was one of the lucky few that got to stay on there. I think a lot of that was because my salary was pretty crappy. But so I had to start kind of learning other skills at the warehouse. And so I had to learn how to drive a forklift. I had to learn how to load trucks, even though I was hired just for sales. It was like if I wanted to stay on there. So I hated having to load trucks in the middle of winter. It's 10 degrees outside, and that was horrible.
It's crazy. I'm glad you said that. And the reason why I want to ask is because, like, people in business leave because of exactly what you said.
Yeah.
When you hire someone, hire them and help them be better at the thing you hired them to do. And if they're curious and you want them to learn different things that will help them be better, then either figure out how to compensate them for it or really show them that you appreciate them. Because I really do think it's bogus that people treat their employees like shit and then dangle a little, just what you just said, that little bit of extra money.
It's like, here's 50 cents.
It's like, how about you value yourself more and, like, go see what else is out there or improve the skills that you need to progress or something, right? Like, it's especially now, a lot of jobs, you could quit a job and go work at, like, In-N-Out and get a decent wage if you really wanted to just, like, say, fuck it, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah, flip burgers.
Sorry, going back to the podcast, I would quit that job too. Yeah, sales jobs or anything like that, it comes down to culture. It comes down to, are you treating your people right or are you not? And if you're not, good luck having a successful business.
When I had a different mindset at that point, right? I didn't believe I was worth anymore. I didn't value myself. I thought, well, this is as far as I can go. I've climbed the ceiling in life. This is as far as I go. And then even that, I mean, people would always make me feel like, oh, because I have tattoos and I wouldn't be successful and I would never get a good job and this is as good as you can get. And just stuff like that. It was just, again, your mindset, man. Goes back to your mindset.
Exactly. Exactly.
What's up, buddy?
I know Billy's the best. There's two questions. One of them, back on the podcast. Do you feel that it's a responsibility for you now to continue doing it?
No. I do it because I want to do it. I do it. I don't feel like it's a responsibility. I do feel like, well, I guess maybe that is responsibility, where you feel like people are like waiting for an episode. Is that kind of what you mean by that? Kind of like,
yeah.
Like I feel like I have to get that new episode out every week. Otherwise, I'm going to let people down. So I guess there is responsibility there. I never really thought about it that way.
I thought that would be the case. And that's why, again, I wanted to really chat with you, is because, like, think of how cool that is.
It's really cool.
You do have a responsibility to the people of Salt Lake, Utah.
Yeah.
To put out information about the people and the city and the changes and who movers and shakers, who are the people making, these things happen. Because a lot of those people, they're not doing it for clout. They're doing it because they want to, do
because they love
great.
it, man.
Yeah.
They have a passion and a drive.
Who do you think, if you can remember, like, what are some of the craziest interviews you've had?
The craziest one I've ever had, and this one always gets brought up every time people ask, like, who's the funnest person I've interviewed, who's the wildest, what's the craziest story. I interviewed a guy, he actually is from Spanish Fork, who made sex dolls, human-sized sex dolls.
I'm from Spanish Fork, so I'm curious.
He would sell them for $20,000, $15,000, $20,000. I mean, so these were like legit, real human, that not just a little blow up. I mean, anyway, he inherited this business from his dad.
That is amazing.
And he didn't even know his dad, if I remember correctly. I mean, this interview was many, many years ago. It was about the same time that you actually were on the podcast, because it was in the same space there in Sugar House. That's kind of how I timestamp when certain episodes happen. Like whenever I'll chat, I'll be like, oh, where was I living when I interviewed you? Because, I've interviewed many different apartments and houses. And anyway, he inherited this business from his dad that he didn't know his dad very well, but then his dad passed away. And so he inherits this business. It's like, okay, now I got this sex doll company. And it was just fascinating to hear the stories, because you wouldn't expect that in Utah. I mean, his dad was from like LA, if I remember correctly. And then second, for people that are in Utah, know Spanish Fork.
Yeah.
And especially Spanish Fork, even back in 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
10 years, 9-10 years ago, it was a different world. I mean, it's growing a lot now. Spanish Fork has gotten crazy busy. I mean, you know that. You see it. Like you said, you graduated from Spanish Fork High, right? And so that's what even made it crazier, because you're like, what the heck? You're based out of Spanish Fork, and I don't think he lives there anymore. I think he moved out of state, maybe down to California. I haven't stayed the best in touch with him, but
did he give you any souvenirs?
No, I was bummed out. No, I was hoping he would, but
did you see them?
He brought one in, so it's funny because he actually brought one of the dolls in, and he also made these like boob pillows.
Boob pillows?
Yeah, that were like boobs that you laid on, And
I could use one of those.
yeah,
Man,
man, well, why don't I have one of those? And I asked him, I said, hey, have you ever tried these out? You know, these. And he said no, and I said, oh, you're full of crap. You know what I mean? But his girlfriend was there with him, so. But his girlfriend did the company with him. His girlfriend was like doing the job. I don't know. Isn't that the wildest though? I mean, that was probably the craziest one. And then, yeah.
Is there something like during like that's perfect. That's kind of and I love that, and I love that it's from Spanish Fork because like
you wouldn't suspect that to be from small town Spanish Fork.
But also it kind of makes a little because Dirty Joe's was there.
I don't know.
Dirty Joe Punsters, I think that's the name of the store. It's like this sex boutique store.
There was one in Spanish Fork?
It was originally in Payson, and then they moved it to Spanish Fork.
Is it still there?
Yeah. It's like right on Main, because there's like one Main Street and like 100 South, something like that.
That's probably the only shop like that in Utah County, because I don't think Provo Norm has a shop like that.
I think that's what made them like popular. What about with your interviews? Is there something that comes to mind that when you were interviewing someone that you were just kind of like, not mesmerized isn't quite the word, but like you really learned something major from it? Could be a life-changing thing, or like, holy shit, I didn't know this was in Utah, something like that. One of the two.
Well, the sex dolls for sure. I didn't know that was in Utah. Luckily, the guy reached out to me to come on the podcast.
I wanted to move some dolls.
Yeah, well, he was like, I got this. No, but I think really anybody I bring through there really mesmerizes me, because you find out so much more than you ever would have expected having them on the podcast. And you find out like what even got them to that point, what, the fact that they can make a living doing something that they're doing. Another perfect example of somebody that I've had on the podcast multiple times is a sex therapist. And the fact that he is busy enough in Utah to be a sex therapist.
What do you mean? Like helping couples?
Helps guys, females, couples with their personal sexual stuff, their couple sexual stuff. And, at first you're like, gosh, is there enough of that to talk about? But then
they bring out the dolls.
But then you find out and you're like, you know what, that makes sense. I could see that, especially when we're such a religious dominated state where people are sexually oppressed, or they don't realize how to talk about their sexual desires or what they're experiencing. But so, I mean, really just those are the people that I couldn't say one individual people, but it's people that mesmerize me that have actually taken their passion or something they thoroughly enjoy. Because it goes back to my crappy job at Contempo, where I sold granite slabs. I hated that job. I don't know if there was one day I ever liked it. And I just thought that's what a job is supposed to be.
Yeah. No,
I think most people think a job is supposed to be.
That's exactly. And I think that circling back, bam, right to the front, to the beginning, it goes back, I think it comes from our family.
Yeah.
It was on TV when you watched, whether it was The Simpsons, Family Matters,
Married with Children.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking about, Bundy. Right?
Yeah.
I hate my job. And you come home and you're like, ugh.
And then you hate your wife. You hate your,
and then the kids are, and that was like the thing. And you're right. It was almost like you're programmed to
think that that's what you're supposed to do.
And you get a family, but you kind of hate it, and you live for the weekend barbecue or whatever it is.
For your beer drinking with your buddies in the garage to bitch and moan about your wife.
Yeah. I mean, she was pretty attractive.
Yeah.
Do you find what is like some commonalities with all the interviews, right? Like I'm sure there's got to be something that you're like, yeah, that's pretty common in people that you interview.
Really, just drive and ambition, especially people that have 2 or 3 jobs on top of their side hustle or top of their hobby, their passion. Why they're trying to build something up, because a lot of people don't have that drive. Where, I mean, you talk about even yourself with what you did with Damn Son Records, and you like, well, did I make an impact? Did this change? And it's like, well, look at where you're at today. I'm sure some of that led you to there, right? Mm-hmm. And what the average person, and when I say average person, they're obviously not people that like you and myself that run in our circles, but the average people that work a 9-to-5 job, they go back to the Al Bundys where they work that 9 to 5, and then they think, okay, now it's time to crack open the beers, time to turn the television on. I'm not going to get out of my situation. They don't think there's any room for change, or they're too old to change. Oh, I'm 30 years old already. My life is over. It's like, man, you're young. Your life just started. And so it's that drive and that ambition to create something better for themselves. And those are the people. Those are the interviews that I really thrive off of. And I'm like, okay, this is awesome.
And that's a commonality that in everyone that you...
Pretty much.
What...
I mean, I would say 98% of the people.
What do you think... Why don't people believe in themselves more?
I wish I knew. I don't know. Why don't we believe in ourselves more? Probably because we've been made to believe, because we listen. It's like when you have a business or a podcast or anything, right? You get that one negative review, and that sticks out even though you had 100 other positives. You get that one negative review, and that's what sticks out. And so it's the same thing with ourselves. Right? We had that girlfriend, that boyfriend, that husband, that wife, the friend, the neighbor, your parents, whatever, that maybe say something bad about you. Oh, you're not going to amount to anything. You're a loser. You're going to remember that, man. And the thing is a lot of times, especially even our parents, we don't realize the stuff we're saying to our kids. And as a kid, you remember that. You're like, oh, I must be lazy because my mom says I'm lazy. And, or, I'm ugly, or I'm fat, or, I'm too skinny, I need to eat more, blah, blah, blah. It gets ingrained in our head. And so the last thing it goes on to is ourself. Well, not the last thing, but it goes on to ourself with the way we think, the way we act. And we don't realize that. That's why even things within myself that I'm realizing I have to change, and things I have to change in my subconscious, and affirmations and things of that nature help reprogram that subconscious brain to positive aspects of yourself, things that you're good at, things that you want to improve. And so that goes back to your question: why don't we believe more in ourselves? Right? That was your question, and because we know only of ourselves from what other people have said. And that's where it goes back to even me now, where I'm taking this time to figure out, who am I? I'll go find a quiet park and just go sit in it and just it's like a meditation where I'm just trying to listen to my inner voices. Go up to the top of a mountain where nobody can bother me. No noise, no sounds, no music, silence. Because a lot of times people always have to have music on. We always have to have this going instead of listening what's inside of us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of got...
No, you ever read the book As a Man Thinketh?
Of course, yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
It's a great book.
As a Man Thinketh, so is he.
Yeah.
And then I don't work out. I got this from David Goggins, but I do not work out with music. I don't run with music. I don't lift with music. Nothing.
Silence or what?
Silent. Well,
really?
Whatever it is. If I'm trail running, I'm breathing. I'm hearing everything.
Well, that sounds like torture, man.
But he said I heard this, and because I used to, like, you put your headphones in, you run, you feel it, or you're pumping iron, whatever it is. But he said, in life, there's no music. When shit happens, where's the music? Can you push through it? And ever since then, I just don't train with music, because there's power in being in your thoughts. And there's power in not being afraid to go and battle your thoughts. And I think that people don't believe in themselves because they, it's easy to talk down to yourself. I think most people do that. And you're right. Someone made you feel a certain way, and they don't have good examples in front of them.
Yeah.
Because if you can't see beyond what's in front of you, it's almost like everything is a fairy tale at that point. Then you're like on your phone and then you're comparing, because really you only know what's around you. Let's wrap up with just this, because this is pretty awesome. But I want to know what, and you may have already answered this, but what are your do you have a life philosophy?
Life philosophy. Be the best person I can. Because when I pass on to the next life or next world or whatever is past death, it's like I want to leave a mark. I'm not the type of person where it's like I want to just exit quietly. And so I want to leave, I guess, a legacy and be the best person that I can be, because I want people to remember me as a good person, not an asshole.
Well, that you are a good person, a kind asshole.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And for reals, going back to what I said, I wanted to interview you because I do see you as an everyday hero. And even more so now, the fact that you said I'm trying to be a good example for my daughter.
Yeah.
That's so important. That says a lot about you, because she is looking at you and being present. Number two, just recognizing the victim mentality that you did have, probably still have sometimes, but being aware of it, because I have it too, is important, because you can change that mindset. And it's cool that you talked about that, because that completely dictates the rest of your outcome. And then number three, just I think it's cool that you've been incredibly consistent for 13 years to highlight people in the community. You've been doing it longer than some of those businesses have been in business, and some of them are fizzled out already, and you have made a staple. So if you are wondering, will people remember Chris Holifield? Hell yeah, they will.
Yeah.
There's 100%. You'll be a legacy and a staple. So thank you for your time, and you, my friend, are an everyday hero. Thank
you, Omar, for inviting me on your podcast. Seriously, it's always an honor to be on the other side of the microphone, and I don't get that opportunity enough. So sometimes it gets difficult. It's like, okay, I'm not the one asking the questions this time, and so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers, bro.
Thank you.